Well, we're excited for the quick turn to get an opportunity to play against a storied program like Villanova. They're playing really good basketball. They've won all their games since their opener out west against BYU, and they have a unique group, and so it's going to be a fun battle.
Zach, you talk about kind of the quick turnaround, and that's something you guys tend to thrive on, and something you say you thrive on. What are some of the things that you do kind of in this portion where you have a couple days, maybe not like a day at like a tournament setting, but something you do these couple days?
We just shortened practice. Yesterday was we had film, we had yoga, and we had a short practice, mostly mental. We added we worked on a couple special situations that we haven't executed well, and we worked on some things, just continuing to add more to what we're trying to do, and started planning for what we're going to see from Villanova. So it was short, but overall good day. Today we'll go just a shorter practice than usual.
Chris? People always talk about the cliche of peaking too soon. Is there really a downside of playing really good ball in November and December?
It's ebbs and flows of the season. I don't 3 weeks ago we were terrible, and now we're peaked. So I don't know. I mean, we got to get better. We've still got to continue to anticipate what our problems are going to be, of how we'll be defended, different things we're going to face, and prepare contingency plans and be ready for anything. But no, I would always err on playing good basketball over crappy basketball, whatever time of year.
And then Oscar always seems aggressive when he's in there. Can you just talk about how he's improved since he's been here and going against the competition he is and how much that's helped him?
Yeah, Oscar's a good basketball player. When we saw him playing for his national team, we thought he was. I keep using the word unique, but he was a good driver, and he had great pop and force off 2 feet, so he could stop quick and elevate. And we thought that's a weapon. And he's added a really consistent three-point jump shot. He spent a lot of time with Will, and our staff's invested a lot of time with him on the court. But his jump shooting's gotten a lot better. His ability to move laterally has improved greatly. Like I said, when you see these guys every day, you don't remember unless you just go back to your long-term memory about where they were when they got here. And he didn't move his feet well, and he couldn't guard the ball very well. Now he can. I think the next step for him is to really, embrace Merez's physicality and tenaciousness. If he can add that at a consistent level, then he's going to be a real weapon for us. But he's ready. If obviously we can't have too big of a rotation right now, but if someone went down, there would be no issues with plugging Oscar in a number of different roles and being confident he could help us win.
Yeah, when you guys saw Gonzaga, they were one of the top rebounding teams in the nation on both sides of the ball. You guys obviously handled that well. Is there anything that you were able to do that day that can translate to Villanova, and what have you seen that makes them good on the offensive glass?
What makes Villanova, first and foremost, Brennan goes with force, and he does a really good job of tracking the ball with his eyes while he's going after it and shedding defenders, and he loves contact, and he's going to throw his body around. And they have great role definition as well, so I think he's able to anticipate what's going to happen next. But yeah, I think anytime we emphasize something with this group, I've said it repeatedly. I think we have a really high basketball IQ and an awareness of who we are as individuals and who we are as a team. And so typically when we emphasize something, the guys do their best to neutralize it and get better in that area. And so as we improve in certain facets, we just can't neglect the other parts of the game. So there's always that happy medium of continuing to review what you're doing well and the improvements you've made, while also trying to plug some new holes, because each team presents something completely different and new and challenging, and that's what Villanova does. I mean, they have great shooting, and with that shooting comes long rebounds, comes a lot of things that are tough for us. But yeah, it's something. If we're going to win this game, we have to rebound the ball, and so our guys are aware of that.
And then Kevin Willard is there now. Obviously, you played him last year. Are there any staples of like a Kevin Willard team that you notice, or is this like year one and he's sort of still putting things together?
Well, obviously, in year one, you don't have the continuity and the nuances down yet, but they're getting closer. He brought some guys with him, but I think Kevin's been doing this a while, so I think he's pretty firm and secure with how he thinks the game should be played and what they do. So yeah, there's tells of. We played as teams at Seton Hall. There's tells going all the way back to that of how they do things, and they keep you off balance. We're going to see matchup zone. We're going to see switching 1 through 3. We'll probably see some switching 1 through 5. We'll see some press. And so if you're not able to play conceptually and you get bogged down by those things, then you could have a bad night offensively against them. And last year they did the same thing where they had some real quirks that presented challenges to score, and I think the more times you see it, the more comfortable you get. But obviously this is a one-game situation, but they're a little bit like us in that regard where if you watched us defensively, you'd probably have trouble figuring out what we do all the time because we do change some things based on personnel. But, yeah, they're good at what they do. I mean, he's had an instant impact. They have a good team. They're going to win a lot of games. I think they're an NCAA tournament team that could advance. And so that's who you want to be playing this time of year.
A few weeks ago, you said the 3 big lineup may not be aesthetically pleasing offensively. Now it seems to be, I think, offensive rating last 5 games, 122. What has changed? What has kind of worked there, I guess?
I think the reps and the time together has been the biggest thing. Even yesterday, I remember complimenting Merez multiple times about how he figured out a way to stay out of the action and complement the action. And the same thing with the die where, it's seeing what's going on in front of you. It's reacting to the game, and those guys are doing a good job of that. And then when the spacing's not pretty, figure out a way to respace. But a big part of that, too, is Yaxel being such a willing three-point shooter. I think he's tripled his volume of threes from last season. His percentage has gone up maybe 4 or 5 percentage points from last season. So that's a big part of it, and that wasn't an easy transition for Yax where you're playing like this when you're with this group and you're playing like this when you're with this group. And so it's a testament to his intelligence that he's able to shift, and also because of his work and getting in the gym and making shots and practicing every day. And he spends a lot of extra time working on it, and he continues to add to his game. So I think he still has another jump to make.
And then the reviews, I mean, it seems like you're probably still 100% internally, but maybe they don't have the angles, it seems like. Or is the iPad and what you guys have different than what they have on the monitor? How does that work?
I don't know really what they have on the monitor. Sometimes the last game, we weren't as confident. We just thought we have a sizable lead. Let's practice and let's see if Will Cheddar can earn the trust of the staff when it comes time to challenging calls. We're keeping a running tally of who's reliable and who's probably a little too impulsive to go off their word. Right now, Will errs towards probably a little too impulsive, but those are tough plays, and as you're in real time. But Yaxel told us to challenge the one in Vegas that we got wrong, but he wasn't wrong. So we're still working it out. Each situation is going to be different. We don't like taking them home with us, especially with the first one basically being free if you're going to get it right. So on the first one, if we think we're going to get it right, we're going to go for it.
Dusty, you've talked these last 2 seasons a lot about teams that are unselfish and finding players in the portal that are unselfish. I'm wondering what it is that you identify in individuals that you think translates there, or what it is that you instill in them once they get here.
I think guys that enjoy passing the basketball. Like passing is, a die probably overpasses. Yaxel's a really good passer. He was probably too unselfish at his last at UAB in American Conference and Conference USA. Elliot Cadeau obviously is known as one of the best passers in all of college basketball. Rody Gale is incredibly unselfish. And Amari Burnett, for a guy that shoots it as well as he does, rarely takes a bad shot. Will Cheddar just wants to win. I can go, I'm sure I'm leaving. Merez Johnson has never been a volume scorer. He's just done whatever the game required to win. And so I don't think we have anyone that we've brought in. Trey McKinney is a very efficient player that won at a high level in high school. I don't think we brought in guys who their identity is shooting and scoring the ball. You want guys, we've talked about, especially if you're your old guys, you want guys who are capable of shooting really well, but don't care if they shoot. And if you have that, then the game finds a good rhythm and flow to it, and then you're making the right plays. But we're probably as balanced, and I'd have to look at the numbers, with our usage rate as anyone, especially anyone that's really good across the country. We don't rely on one or two guys to carry us. We take what the game gives us, and we trust and believe in whoever's on the court can make the right plays. And you saw Merez knock down a couple open step-in threes. That's, that gives us more gravity. It allows those bigs to play better together. And so we're going to continue to evolve as a group because, as you've seen with the coaches we're going to see and the players we're going to see, they're going to find solutions for what we currently do. And so we got to continue to try to stay ahead of the curve.
Dusty, I want to ask about Mike Boynton. Like, if you can think back to why you wanted to add him to your staff, can you kind of share that? And then now, and into the second season here, what he has actually brought.
I mean, a number of reasons why I wanted to add Coach Boynton. First and foremost, because I really liked him. Like everyone on our staff, that they have a extremely high level of likability, of self-awareness, of the team first mindset. Also, too, I think I respected his struggle. He probably deserved the Stephen F. Austin job when Brad Underwood left and went to Oklahoma State, and he was never bitter, angry about that experience. And so that's always something that I value. Like, you go through something difficult and you stay positive, you stay professional. And Coach Boynton did that. And obviously I'd watched his teams play. He had hired a guy off of my staff, Eric Pastrana, who's now at Miami. And so anytime you're watching, anytime games are on, you're going to watch your former assistants, you're going to watch your former players you've coached. You're going to watch. I typically watch games where there's a personal connection. So I watched him play a lot. Thought he was a really good basketball coach. I thought he had a really unique ability to seem like an old guy, but be really young and vibrant and energetic and flexible. That's one thing about this profession. Sometimes, when we start to get older, you're either stuck in your ways in the old days, or you're wise and you're adaptable. I feel like he's wise and adaptable as he ages in our profession, and so that's what we try to be as a staff. Extremely flexible. We try to problem solve. We don't spend a lot of time complaining. Our complaints are usually laughing over it with humor because it's something we can't control anyway. So I just think overall he's a good fit. For me, he checks a lot of boxes that I'm not good at. So yeah, there are a number of reasons, but he like the rest of the staff, man, they work really, really well together, and they're not out here now like searching for a spotlight and patting themselves on the back. We all know, the staff, our players all know our success is because of all of us. We work in collaboration. Obviously, I have to make the final decision on most of these things, but I don't think there's ever a decision that we don't discuss as a group. And we're usually pretty aligned because we think alike, but we also have some real healthy debates. And that's where it's fun when you have guys who are bright but also flexible, that they're not set that this is the way it's going to be done. We're all trying to find the best way for our guys to do it. So does that answer well enough?
Absolutely, thank
Yeah.
you. And then, unrelated, it seems like even more so than the current ranking of your opponent, you seem to appreciate like a storied program, and like San Diego State, Gonzaga, you mentioned it, and now Villanova. Is that accurate?
Especially in today's climate, to sustain success year in, year out is impressive in our eyes. And so these programs that are able to do it without having any dips are incredibly impressive. And Villanova obviously hasn't been what they've been the last couple of years versus the previous 6 or 8 or whatever the case, but they have really good players. That place they expect to win, and we know they're we recruited a Caden Lewis. We know how well their wings shoot the ball. We respect their bigs and how hard they play, and so they've done a nice job of putting together a well-rounded roster in year one.
You just talked about Merez making a couple threes, and I think you've talked about Adai getting to a point where he'll shoot them, looks comfortable doing it during pregame, stuff like that. What's that process like? Is it based on hit rates and percentages in practice, or is it just an eyeball thing, feel of the game? And when do you greenlight those guys? Are you having conversations with them about that?
It's more of an eyeball thing. We track all the data and we're monitoring it. But like when we feel like they look really comfortable in the situations that they're going to be in, because even the best shooters they miss 6 out of 10 shots, right? So it's like it's not as if you're just looking at the percentage and saying he's ready. Now we have asked them to, hey, let us kind of give you the time when we think it's right. But if there's a big margin or something like that, obviously the situation's different. A die shot one in Vegas that I thought was a really good look. We had a nice lead. It wasn't as if, and he turned one down the other day that I thought was still at a moment in the game where it could have gone either way. And I thought he showed great judgment. He's just got to continue to work on it, continue to get more comfortable. In certain games, though, we don't really want him getting as many catches outside the three. We'd love for him to get his catches on the elbow, and he's such a weapon there. So that will be something, though, that on certain nights, I know Northwestern last year, for example, if we don't get Vlad's threes to go down in that game and hang around when they were really bogging us down, then we don't win that one. And so that's a home game in the Big Ten and a very pivotal moment. So there's going to be different nights when you don't know what the game's going to call for, and hopefully we'll have that in our arsenal where we can loosen up the defense a little bit or force the defense to guard our bigs on the perimeter, which helps open up the rim.
Chris?
You talked about preparing for teams that might exploit or try to exploit some potential deficiencies. What does that look like? Do you look down the way a little bit about teams on the schedule, and do you maybe do a little bit of something every day for those teams?
Yeah, as we're watching games at night as a group, and this week, credit college basketball coaches, man. There's been some credit NIL, whatever's caused all of us to schedule these big-time games. It's been awesome. So we were all kind of watching different games, and we'll send something in the group chat. We need to have this ready. We need to have this ready. This is coming soon. This is down the road, but we got to start practicing this. And so we added 2 wrinkles yesterday that we're not going to see for at least a couple weeks, but it's going to be used against us. Our systems, there hasn't been much deviation in our defensive system in the last several years, so we know the holes and what problems other teams can give us. So if you just try to game plan it for that 2-day prep or whatever the case, it's a lot more difficult than introducing it, repping it here, and then it's more of just a refresher. And so in our group chat at night, we talk about, okay, we need to have these 2 things ready by January or whatever the case. And so when we have extra practice time, or like yesterday when we went light and we have a little bit of time after, okay, let's talk about these 2 or 3 things that we're going to need to refer back to later.
And then this is kind of a loaded question, but there are analysts, maybe some coaches that call out teams that better their teams in the portal. Have you seen any of that? And what would you respond to that?
I mean, once again, we try to be wise and adaptable. We took 4 portal guys last year, and we love coaching all 4 of them. We feel like we're pouring into them. We feel like they're making us better as coaches. They fit our culture. I mean, the Thunder won the NBA championship last night. Like, I don't look down at Mark Daigneault or Sam Presti because he didn't draft all those guys, because Shea Alexander was drafted by the Clippers and they traded Paul George for him, or they signed Hartenstein through free agent. I just look at it as, man, they play great ball. That is a team that all of these young players should emulate as far as how much they care about each other, how they're able to bring it every single night, no matter who's playing. And so I would choose to look at it like that versus always trying to cut down the way everyone else is doing it. Because, I look across our league, I mean, there's some really good teams. I watched Nebraska last night, and I'm like, man, that's the guy that was injured from Bradley. Man, he's good. And then the kid from Iowa transferred there. And then Hoiberg's son, I think probably has been there with him the entire time, who is fun to watch and a complete winner. So I think they're a great example of, they just have guys from everywhere that have came together and they're playing the game the right way. They're fun to watch. They're going to compete for a championship. And so I respect that way. I respect every way that each guy does it, because it's difficult now. And everyone's situation is different. Some guys aren't at a place like Michigan where people want to stay outside of basketball. That's very tough to leave. So every situation's different, but no, we choose to do it our way. Do I look down on a guy because he took I don't know the coach at Santa Clara, but do I look down on him because he took a G League guy versus a EuroLeague guy? No, not at all. That's we're trying to bring in great dudes who love to compete, who value what we bring, and want to be a part of growing all this together.
We'll take 2 more. We'll go Charles and then James.
Yeah, you mentioned recruiting Lewis. What have you seen from him and some of the other Villanova guards?
Well, Caden, for freshman guard, he's got to be one of the best freshman guards in the country. his ability to manipulate the defense, his finishing packages, like all the things we knew when we recruited him. He visited officially in the fall last year and ended up signing with Kentucky. But all the things we knew back then, I mean, he's an elite finisher with either hand. He does a nice job of getting the shooter shots and feeding the roll man. He's capable of shooting from deep and really getting in a rhythm, but he has game. I mean, if nothing else, like he has a lot of game, especially for a freshman playing on this stage.
And what about the other Villanova guards?
They shoot the ball. They're strong. They really, really shoot it. And anytime you have shooting on the wing, you have a dynamic guard like a Caden, and you have the bigs like Hodge can make threes. Brennan is a junkyard dog. I just think they did a really nice job of putting the right pieces together. And then their bench, they come in and they have some junkyard dogs coming off the bench. Jeffries is a pit bull on the ball. Number 7, I forget, they brought him from Maryland. I mean, he's an elite defender, and so they've got a unique blend where you have offense and then you have defense and then you have a combination of both. So we have a lot of respect for what their staff was able to do in a short period of time, because it's not always easy when you're coming together, and at least they had an identity to sell, though. Like, obviously Coach Willard's been doing this for a long time, so people know what he values.
Dusty, just how valuable and comforting has it been to have a veteran guy like Rody come off the bench who can consistently score in double figures and you can count on to kind of keep the ball rolling?
Yeah, Rody Gale, man, I think that the 3 guys that I think are kind of I don't want to say the 3 guys. I don't want to single anybody. Rody Gale is an unsung superstar for us. He does so much across the board and doesn't care about anything other than winning and being a part of something special together. Like, he's incredibly unselfish. And with that, you have the expectations that your teammates have to be unselfish too, or you kind of lose that trust. And so Roddy, I think, is really, really bought into being a little bit of everything for this team. He's getting to the rim, he's playmaking, he's defending at a high level, and I think there was one game this year when he was 1 for 6 at half, and we, as a staff, we rallied at halftime and said that might be the most impactful 1 for 6 of any half of basketball that we'd ever seen. He just made so many plays, whether it was cuts, screens, loose balls, deflections, whatever the case. He's making so many plays that impact winning. And so it's been fun to see his growth, because he's improved in so many areas. But maturity-wise, when he speaks in our locker room, everyone has their ears open, because they know what's coming out is valuable, and he's been a real resource for us as a staff to kind of echo our message. So yeah, we're really, really happy with where Roddy is now.
I know some guys who maybe have started over 70 games in their career might be a bit resistant to accepting a 6-man role. Did that take much convincing with Roddy, or is that something he openly embraced, considering how well he played off the bench last year?
No, last year we did it last year whenever it was a strange deal where we just thought, like, Roddy needs the ball in his hands a little bit more, and when he was playing with Danny and Vlad and Trey, he just didn't have the usage that we thought that would be more beneficial to have. And so this year we've just kind of went with the policy that if you miss a couple practices with a minor injury, then we play the group that's been working with cohesion and practice. And that happened with Roddy, it happened with Adai. And then when Roddy had the minor injury, I can't remember the timetable now, he played really, really well with that next unit. And there wasn't any drop-off with the second unit. And so we just thought, man, this makes a lot of sense for him to be whatever we need him to be in the second group. But also it helps him because his usage is probably doubled with that group versus if he was playing with Yaxel and Elliott and Adai and these guys that are also high usage guys. They're not high volume scorers, but they're high usage guys.
And then I just have one more. I guess with you guys being in the top 10, top 5 all season long, is there a different mentality or mindset you guys have to have, knowing like the teams are going to be circling you guys on the schedule?
Well, I think we talked about that earlier in the year, and this was new for us as a group. But I think it does one of two things, and they both can change. It makes you complacent and you start patting yourself on the back, or it pours fuel on your fire. You want more. Like, that, man, this is fun to be in meaningful games and to be in sold-out arenas and to have this energy and intensity around every game. And that's what it seems like today in early December where our guys are. Like, this is a lot of fun, and their work capacity continues to improve. Elliot Cadeau, in our opinion, has become one of the best defensive guards in America over the last 2 or 3 weeks. I can't turn on a game and see a guard that's impacting that side of the ball more than him now. And so that's got to be our response to this success, to play harder and know that we've got to give more, and we've got to continue to learn and grow and stay locked in and focused on the day-to-day, because that's ultimately where we've noticed the difference in our group is their attention to detail and them searching out every advantage in film, in practice. That's been the most encouraging part, that they haven't felt like, oh, why are we doing all this? Why do we keep having to prepare this way? They've wanted more. And so it's always fun to know that, like, we're going to do everything we can to find a way to play our best. And that's where we are right now.